Members, it's the appointed time and we have a quorum. Welcome to the Bills Committee on Dutiable Commodities Amendment Bill 2024. Would the Secretariat please invite the government officials to enter? We welcome the representatives from the administration. We have today Mr. Eddie Lee, Deputy Secretary for Health, and Mr. Mark Wu, Deputy Commissioner of Customs and Excise, Mr. Feng Ying, Dr. Feng Ying, Head of Tobacco and Alcohol Control Office, Mr. Ben Gurong, Acting Principal Assistant Secretary for Health, and Mr. Gary Lee, Senior Assistant Law Draftman from the DOJ. Welcome, everyone. Before we proceed to the bill, I would like to ask members if we need to invite members of the public for a public hearing. The administration, when they come up with a bill, they would have considered the comments given in the public consultation. So I wonder if we need to organize a public hearing. Written submissions? All right, so we will invite for written submissions. So may I invite now the government to walk us through the bill. Chairman, members, Dutiable Commodities Amendment Bill 2024 proposed to raise the rate of tobacco duty per cigarette stick by 80 cents and increase the duty rate of all the remaining categories of dutiable tobacco products by 31.92%. The Public Revenue Protection Duty on Tobacco Order 2024 has come into effect since 11 a.m. on Budget Day, that is 28th of February 2024. Smoking is hazardous to our health, and it is the most preventable risk factor. In Hong Kong, we have 580,000 daily smokers in the population. They are mostly low to middle income earners. They cannot cope with the impact of smoking brought to them financially. The public health system and the society will need to pay for the consequences of smoking. According to a local study in 2021, the health problems generated by smoking constitute $8.2 billion of financial losses. So we have to combat smoking to curb the impact brought about by it. We target to lower the smoking prevalence to 7.8% in 2025. In 2023, we raised the cigarette or tobacco duty by $0.6, and now we propose to raise the duty on cigarettes by 80 cents. It's the first time we raised duty on cigarettes consecutively for 2 years. We don't want to see a rebound in the smoking prevalence, and we want to improve the health of the members of the public. Increasing duty of tobacco is the single most effective tobacco control measure, which encourage people to quit smoking and deter young people from picking up this habit of smoking. The World Health Organization encouraged countries and cities to raise tobacco duty and to increase the proportion of tobacco duty to retail price to 75%. After raising the tobacco duty in 2023, the number of calls received by the Department of Health quit line increased from about 7,422 to about 9,200 in 2023. When we announced the increase in the tobacco duty since Budget Day, the quit line received about 1,858 calls. So we received 3,028 calls per week, which is higher than the previous calls that we received per week by 3 times. We have a new figure that we can report to the members. The CNSD conducted a thematic survey on smoking habits of members of the public. After raising the tobacco duty in 2023, the smoking prevalence decreased. It shows that the smoking prevalence dropped from 9.5% in 2021 to 9.1% in 2023. The finalized figure will be published by the end of the year, but the preliminary figures show that the raising of tobacco duty and the measures of tobacco control conducted by the government is effective. There are people who say that we are encouraging the illicit cigarette trading by raising the tobacco duty, but the World Bank research actually shows that the impact brought to the illicit cigarette trading by the raising of tobacco duty is not that significant. Now, the Customs and Excise Department is determined to combat illicit cigarette trading, and they will step up risk assessment and risk-based enforcement action. They will combat smuggling and storage of illicit cigarettes as well as sale of illicit cigarettes. The increase in the number of cigarettes or illicit cigarettes seized show that the effort of the CNED is effective. The CNED has conducted a large-scale anti-illicit cigarette operation recently, and the situation has been brought under control. Now, the CNED is continuing to combat such an activity, and they will adjust their enforcement strategies in due course. Regarding distribution of illicit cigarette leaflet in public housing estates, the CNED and the Hong Kong Police Force has worked with the Housing Department. Whenever the smoking products leaflets distribution is detected at public housing estates, the housing estate staff will contact the police force for assistance. We are reviewing to implement the market system. That is, we will put a duty paid sticker on the cigarettes that have their duty paid to distinguish between duty paid or non-duty paid or duty not paid cigarettes. We will set 70% of proportion of tobacco duty to retail price as proposed by the World Health Organization as our target, and we will continue to provide free of charge smoking cessation services. We adopt different measures to help people get rid of the habit by using, for example, acupuncture and so on. The Hong Kong Council on Smoking and Health will continue to publish or promote the message of smoking-free initiative. The Department of Health is trying to roll out different measures to control tobacco. I hope that members will support the bill so that we can take forward the tobacco control measures. Thank you. If members would like to put questions regarding the policy matters, please press the button. There are 10 members who have pressed the button, including Mr. Kwok Wai Kan, Mr. Edward Lam, Mr. Chang Pilan, Professor Chen Wing Kong, Mr. Tony Che, Mr. Lai Tong Kwok, Dr. Johnny Ng, Ms. Chen Hua Yan, Mr. Lee Chen Kan, and Mr. Siu Ka Fai. 4 minutes per member, including question and answer. Mr. Kwok Wai Kan. Thank you, Chairman. We are to raise tobacco duty under the bill, and it's included in the budget this year. Raising tobacco duty is one of the major measures to reduce smoking prevalence by the government. The government said that after raising the tobacco duty in 2023, the smoking prevalence has dropped from 9.5% to 9.1%, but that is only a 0.4% drop. We still only have 8 months to go, within this year, we still have 1 point something percentage to go in terms of reduction of smoking prevalence. Can we actually achieve our target of 7.8% of smoking prevalence by the end of this year? The government said that the proportion of tobacco duty to retail price should be set at 75%. Are you saying that you are going to further raise the tobacco duty next year? My last point, apart from lowering the smoking prevalence, actually non-smokers would like to avoid passive smoking as well. So when will we roll out measures to ban people smoking on the street? Deputy Secretary, thank you. In 2023, the smoking prevalence can be further suppressed to 9.1%, and we think that the figure is quite encouraging because if we look at 2023, that's the year when we revoked the mask ban. When we conducted the survey in 2023, we were worried if the smoking prevalence would rebound after lifting the mask ban. I think that people are aware of our tobacco control measures, coupled with the raising of tobacco duty along with other measures. All these help lowering the smoking prevalence. We will work towards our target of lowering the smoking prevalence to 7.8% in 2025. We will continue to review our existing measures, including all those set out in the consultation paper. We are going to roll out various tobacco control measures in phases, and we will publish them in due course. As for the issue with non-smokers, of course, we need to protect them from the harm caused by passive smoking. As set out in the consultation paper, we will consider creating no smoking area. If we cannot bring the smoking prevalence down to 7.8% next year, then what will the government do? In the consultation paper, we said that we will raise tobacco duty and we will prohibit mint cigarettes and create no smoking areas. In different phases, we will adopt different measures and we will announce our plan in due course. Thank you. Next, Mr. Edward Lang. Thank you. Before I decide on whether I should support the bill, I would like to have some figures. After raising the tobacco duty, how much revenue is generated for the white cigarettes or illicit cigarettes trade? So what is the revenue generated from the raise of tobacco duty after the smoking prevalence have dropped by 0.4%? Because if we don't generate extra revenue by raising the duty, it means that the illicit cigarette trade is earning more. If the illicit whites and illicit cigarette trade is earning more, it means that our revenue has gone to them. I see that there is a situation where people go onto the mainland to purchase cigarettes because our senior citizens will only have to spend $2 to visit the mainland. As a result, they can cross the border to purchase 19 sticks of cigarettes per trip, and they can go a few times a week. they are not smoking less as a result. I would like to know about the calculation of smoking prevalence. Do people actually answer your survey honestly, and have you considered e-cigarettes? Thank you.
秘書長。
Deputy Secretary, Mr. Leung asked a question about the illicit whites or the cheap whites. Maybe I can defer to Mr. Wu from the CNE. Thank you, Mr. Leung, for your question. Well, in relation to the illicit cigarette market, it is a black market. We won't have any concrete data, and we can't tell how big the market is. We can't really be very precise about the size of the market. However, I can tell you that as far as law enforcement is concerned, in the past 2 years, well, we have done a lot. Well, it is quite a special market. In the year 2022, we confiscated 730 million sticks of illicit cigarettes. In the year 2023, there was a drop of 11%. So around about 650 million sticks of illicit cigarettes. Well, you may wonder why there is such a drastic drop. Is it because we're less effective? Well, the contrary is true. In the year 2022, normal cross-boundary travel hasn't resumed. And in fact, at that time, a lot of cigarettes were smuggled into Hong Kong by land routes. We stopped them. And then, of course, they were hit in the pocket. The smugglers tried to change their strategy. And as a result, we saw that in the second half of the year, they didn't resort to the sea routes to smuggle cigarettes. So we were effective, and so they changed their strategy, and they tried to bring in the illicit cigarettes by small batches. So starting from the second half of the year 2023, the number of illicit cigarettes seized was reduced. Well, maybe you haven't got the figures, but I really want to know how many people switch over to the illicit market after the duty rate has gone up. You really have to take into account this fact. 0.4% fewer smokers smoked. So I want to know whether some people were lost to the illicit market. If I may address this question, in the year 2022, the tobacco duty rate was such that there were 400 million sticks. In the year 2023, it was about 300 million. In other words, a drop of 26%. We could trace the reasons. It isn't so much more people switch to illicit cigarettes. I think it's more because of the resumption of normal traveling. On the 7th of February last year, travel was normalized. Many people were able to cross the boundary, and they were able to buy cigarettes at the duty-free shops. Therefore, we believe that it was mainly because of the resumption of normal traveling that there was a fall in the number of cigarettes. I think is it because of the tobacco duty rise? It so happened that it was in February that normal traveling was resumed. What was the figure in that year? 330 million in the year 2019. So a drop of 10%. Chair, if I may add to that, I think the logic was right. If you look at the figures, in the year 2023, there was normal traveling. And then for duty-paid cigarettes, the level went back to the level before COVID with a slight drop, a drop of 9%. And when we compared the prevalence rate of 2019 and 2022, I think the fall is more or less the same. So after taking away the impact of resumption of normal traveling, we believe that the preference rate dropped by the same magnitude as the number of cigarettes used. So it wasn't so much that as a result of the duty increase, more people went to the illicit market. May I also address Mr. Leung's point about the statistics? Well, in fact, it is a exercise we carried out every 2 years, scientific in nature, carried out by the CNS. We are vigorous in relation to the number of samples as well as the response rate. In other words, we work within parameters, and therefore we can compare the figures year by year, and we can monitor the trend. In the year 2023, we conducted a survey, and it was the same as that done before. As what it meant by preference rate, well, anybody aged above 15, and if you have a daily practice of smoking traditional or conventional cigarettes, then you're regarded as a smoker. Next, Mr. Chen Pui Leung, increasing the tobacco duty rate to control the number of smokers and reduce smoking. I would doubt whether it is going to be effective. As has been mentioned in the past, after increasing the duty rate, we are worried that more will switch over to the illicit market. You say that it isn't the case. I do have friends who are smokers. You have to tackle the problem at root. In fact, he told me that you don't have to distribute the pamphlets when you are smoking on the street together with other smokers. You can easily get the information. In the year 2021, or since then, for TACO has successfully prosecuted 12 offenders for distributing smoking product leaflets, 12 only, and yet there are so many people smoking illicit cigarettes and so many people selling illicit cigarettes. I don't know why the figure is so low, so small. Is it because the way that you conduct the exercise, the caretakers will spot the distribution of leaflets, and he will report the matter to the office, and then a report will be made to the police, etc. So it will be too indirect. Can you not resort to something more direct and make it more effective? And then I just wonder whether we should improve the mechanism. Only someone selling the illicit cigarettes will be committing an offense. What about the buyer? Both? Now you are targeting at the sellers, but what about buyers of illicit cigarettes? Do you have focused efforts to tackle such an issue as well? That's my main concern as to what you're going to do to address the problem after increasing the tobacco duty rate. I think Mr. Leung made a very important and good point. Let me take this opportunity to tell the public it is also an offense to buy illicit cigarettes, and not just people who sell illicit cigarettes that are committing an offense. Whatever reason you have for buying illicit cigarettes, it is an offense. And we may have enforcement difficulties, but it doesn't give you the excuse to buy illicit cigarettes. Maybe Mr. Wu can talk about the legislation. Let me share the figures with you. In the year 2023, at the level of transaction, 580 people were arrested. 580 were sellers, and 401 were buyers, were customers. Let me tell you about the penalties handed down by the court. Some were sent to jail for a couple of months. So let me advise the public, please don't buy illicit cigarettes. It is an offense. Any follow-up questions? As to the prosecution number, why is it so low? Only 12 offenders were prosecuted for distributing smoking product leaflets. If I may defer to Dr. Feng from TACO regarding the smoking product leaflets. in the year 2022, we noticed the problem, and we liaise with the housing department and the police. Now, public housing estates are managed by caretakers as well as the housing department staff members. We do have a mechanism here. We don't know when the leaflets would be handed out and where, so it will be difficult for us to wait for that to happen. Now we have established a mechanism. The management office will stop the transaction and will make a report to the police as soon as they witness such a transaction, and then will take statements and will initiate prosecution. Well, we have seen that it is quite a serious problem when it comes to the distribution of smoking product leaflets. So starting from the beginning of this year, in the past few months, 120 public housing estates have been covered by our joint exercise with the police. We've been stepping up our public education. For the distribution of leaflets, we have been training the property management staff members to understand what they should do when they witness such transactions. We really have to rely on them intercepting or stopping the transactions. Professor Chen, we know that smoking harms our health. As part of the health sector, anything that can help us to control tobacco use and anything that can safeguard public health, you have my full support. But then for this bill, I want to talk about the following. Now, the rate per stick, will be enhanced by 80 cents. That is an increase of 31.92%. What is the basis of pitching it at such a level? And what is the expected effect? What is the expected number of smokers that will be quitting smoking? What are you going to do to make sure that WHO's proposal can be met? That is, we should drive the preference rate further down. And then after increasing the tobacco duty rate, it is more expensive to smoke, and people would resort to illicit cigarettes, or they may want to resort to other alternative products like the e-cigarettes, etc. What are you going to do? I know that it is quite prevalent for people to hand out pamphlets to offer illicit cigarettes. What measures have you got? Are you going to encourage people to report on such matters? Are you going to give a reward to people who report on such illicit trades? First of all, I'd like to thank Professor Chen in relation to the increase. Of course, a number of factors are at play. I can share one point with you. Past experience tells us that the magnitude must be of a certain amount before it will generate any effect. In the year 2019, we increased the tobacco duty rate by 50%. In 2011, 41.5% was the increase rate, and correspondingly, we saw quite a significant fall in the number of smokers. In other years, when the increase was mild, say in 2014, the rise was 11.7%, and the impact on the preference rate was smaller. As I have said in my opening remarks, last year, the increase was also over 30%. This year, for 20 years, this is the first time that for 2 years in a row, we are increasing the tobacco duty rate by more than 30%. For the early results of 2023, the figures show that they are effective. We are hopeful that in this round we can also generate effects. As to whether we can reach the WHO's objective of having the proportion of tobacco duty to retail price pitched at 75%. We'll carry out a review to see how we can reach the objective or the target rate. We won't be doing it for its own sake. What we want to achieve is that in the year 2025, we can drive down the preference rate to 7.8%.
Mr. Tony Chair, thank you. I've always been supporting the government to control tobacco. Hopefully, we can become a smoking-free society. We cannot rely on raising tobacco duty alone to achieve our goal. We need other measures. Some members are concerned about the issues with illicit cigarettes and no smoking area. We also have to enhance our smoking cessation services. I hope that the government will step up their efforts in these areas. I propose to raise tobacco duty during the consultation for budget last year. And I think that we should raise the tobacco duty at a proportion of 75% to the retail price. But the government refused to do so. I saw in the paper that the government need to fulfill its obligations under the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, and they have to also take into account public receptiveness. Why can you not just lay out the rate of increase for the coming years progressively towards the goal of 75% of duty to retail price percentage, so that people know that you're going to raise the tobacco duty next year and just quit smoking? You said that you have stepped up enforcement. In the Dutiable Commodities Amendment Bill 2023, I wondered if the marking system is useful. And I think that by introducing the marking system, we can distinguish between duty-paid and duty-not-paid cigarettes. You said that you have prosecuted a few hundreds of buyers and sellers of illicit cigarettes. I don't think anyone would think that we have so few people buying and selling illicit cigarettes. Apart from arresting people who are selling illicit cigarettes, you also have to step up publicity. Not a lot of people know that it's against the law to buy illicit cigarettes. I think that your effort is not sufficient in this area. Can you do more? And I'm also worried about the consultation from July to September for the Vibrant, Healthy, and Tobacco-Free Hong Kong consultation paper. The consultation has ended for quite some months. You said that you will publish the results very soon. I wonder when you will do it. Can you tell us about the situation? Regarding cigarette selling by newspaper stands, well, actually, the newspaper stands rely on cigarette selling for generating revenue. How can they continue to survive with the raise of tobacco duty? I hope that you can relay relevant issues to other departments so that they can help hawkers and people who are running newspaper stands. Thank you. Deputy Secretary, short reply, please. Thank you. We have taken on board most of your comments regarding raising of tobacco duty. This is the first time that we raised tobacco duty 2 years in a row, and we've not done that for the past 2 decades. We want to send a message to the people that the government is determined to control tobacco and protect people's health. So we will review the effectiveness of the duty hike. Regarding promotion of our efforts against illicit cigarettes, we will continue to do so. Some members said that we should let people know that it's illegal to buy illicit cigarettes. Actually, for every operation conducted by the CNED, they tell people about the penalty and the terms of imprisonment for buying illicit cigarettes. For the public education sector, by the Department of Health, they actually have put out a lot of different posters saying that it's illegal to distribute smoking product leaflets. As for the consultation paper, we are still working on the comments that we received. As mentioned, we will be publishing a thematic report in the middle of this year. We will read the thematic report before we publish the results of the consultation paper. Mr. Lai Tong-kwok, I support the raising of tobacco duty, but I don't agree to the government's saying that it's effective to lower the smoking prevalence by raising tobacco duty, and that they say that the illicit cigarette trade will not be worsened. This is the image that I captured after entering the words illicit cigarettes on Facebook. This is what I captured in WhatsApp, and they even offer us the telephone number to contact for purchasing illicit cigarettes. As long as I place an order today, they will deliver the cigarettes to my house within the same day, and they are from Marlboro and brands alike. The CNED is trying to intercept illicit cigarettes at source, but no matter how hard you work, there's still loopholes to be plucked. So we should focus on buyers along with sellers of illicit cigarettes. Just now, the government said that they asked the security guards of public housing estates to alert the police as soon as they notice someone distributing smoking product leaflets. Is that effective? I don't think so. We're living in a social media era. No one would be wearing a vest printed with illicit cigarettes selling on the street, distributing smoking product leaflet. So I think that the measure that you adopt would not be effective. You have to have special duty squad to carry out the work. The CNED said that they have prosecuted some 500 people, and 400 of them are buyers of illicit cigarettes. But I don't see from the media reports or the judgment of the court that such was being mentioned. I think that you should host a media briefings or conference to let people know about the rulings of the judges and the kind of people that you have charged or prosecuted. Just by uploading the posters on your website is not effective. All the smoker wants is to purchase cigarettes at a lower cost. CNED works on combating illicit cigarettes because it has to do with tobacco duty. For e-cigarettes, no duty is involved and is now banned across the board. But I still see students smoking e-cigarettes. So where do these e-cigarettes come from? And I was told that they are from the mainland. You try to intercept these cigarettes at source, but they're still e-cigarettes on the market. If you don't target both the buyers and sellers of illicit cigarettes, it will not be useful or effective. I think that you have to take into account the situation today to combat the issue. The old ways is no longer effective because the buyers of illicit cigarettes and e-cigarettes know what your measures are already. Deputy Secretary, thank you. I agree that we have to promote the rulings of the court. We are working on certain areas for posts of illicit cigarette selling on social media. We are monitoring them 24 hours a day, and we have uncovered 135 posts online soliciting buyers of illicit cigarettes. After uncovering such posts, we will contact the social media platform. For the 135 posts that we uncovered, 67 have been removed, and we will continue to monitor the situation. On the retail level, we think that we will enhance our covert operations, and we are already doing that. But as confidential information is involved, I may not be able to disclose that, but we will continue to detect illicit cigarettes on the market. Next, Dr. Johnny Ng. The speaker is off mic. I support tobacco control measures, including raising of tobacco duty. I have a few questions for the administration. There's one question that has not been addressed regarding the marking system. There are some sellers who mix duty-paid and duty-not-paid cigarettes together. Can we make use of the marking system so that law enforcement agencies would be able to distinguish between duty-paid and duty-not-paid cigarettes? I would like to follow up on the progress of the marking system. Just now, Mr. Wu said that there are a lot of social media posts on illicit cigarettes selling. It's not as useful by asking the social media platform to take down the post. Can you not just tell the social media platform that it's illegal to publish smoking product posts? My last question. There are some people who say that we will legislate for a law to ban people of a certain age or below a certain age to buy cigarettes. Is that true? Deputy Secretary, let me talk about the marking system first. The CNED and the Department of Health is working on that, and we are identifying certain technology to assist us in such an effort. And we have discovered that there is certain technology on the market that can help us with this. For example, we can link the backend system with the QR code so that we can perhaps ask the sellers to attach a designated label with a QR code on the cigarettes so that we can trace the duty paid situation with certain cigarettes. And we have to also study the legal basis for the marking system. As for the line to be drawn at a certain age, that's one of the options in our consultation paper. And at the next stage, when we announce our measures, we will give you more details. Chairman, what about the question regarding online social media platform? Thank you. CNED, please. I think that it's useful for us to talk to the social media platform and we are working with relevant departments. We have to work on the legal basis and under what circumstances can we ask the social media to ban all these posts together. We're working on that.
Next, Ms. Chen Hua-yin. Thank you, Chair. The government is working hard to reduce the number of smokers. I think we are moving towards the goal of a tobacco-free city. You have my support. We all want the people of Hong Kong to be healthier. Now, the government has always resorted to negative vetting when it comes to this kind of proposals. The rate has been increased. You are seeking our endorsement. I won't object to it because you have already increased the rate. But what about tobacco control strategies on the part of TACO? I think they are unsatisfactory. I'm quite unhappy about that. I think you understand my position. For 2 years in a row, you are increasing the tobacco duty rate. This is quite rare, but still you're not able to meet the WHO's goal. The proportion of tobacco duty to the retail price is a mere 70.2%. Well, in fact, today, if you go out to buy a packet of cigarettes, well, in fact, it is more expensive, and so the proportion of tobacco duty to retail price has dropped to 65%. Now, if you believe that it is your weapon, your tool, to increase the tobacco duty rate so as to combat smoking, then you should be more ambitious and more aggressive. Now, the smokers are still paying more for the cigarettes. The manufacturers are increasing the prices. I don't think we haven't got illicit cigarettes in the market. Well, in fact, it is quite prevalent. You can easily get the information on the internet. And that's why we are also concerned about illicit cigarettes. You're not able to meet the WHO target of 75%. It has dropped below 75% when it comes to the proportion of duty to retail price. Just today, it has fallen back to 65%. In other words, there's no justification for us to back this. At the end of the day, the retailers will be increasing the retail prices. It appears to me that you haven't got a solution to the problem. Now, for the younger generation, for the poorer, for the low-income earners, they are those who are going to suffer. For those who can afford the higher prices, they will continue to smoke. I would like to get a full package of your measures. Australia is the first country to mandate plain packaging. Do we have the courage to do so? And what about restricting sale and provision of tobacco products to persons of a specific age? Is the government bold enough to do that? And what about no smoking areas? Would you expand it? Now, parks are NSAs, but then in other countries, 10 meters around the parks are also regarded as no smoking areas. It appears to me that you have only one single tool in your toolbox to control tobacco. Well, I don't think you need to consult us as to whether we should ban people smoking on the street while walking, what we call train engines. It seems that what about people smoking in restaurants, people smoking in the rear staircase? You call the tackle, but then it takes them a long time to come. Dinner is over and still you haven't come. And then for the distribution of pamphlets, I think there was an oral logical question. I think from the year 2021 up to 2024, only 12 offenders were prosecuted. It was extensive, and yet you have only prosecuted merely 12 of them. Of course, we support your proposal to put up the rate first before getting the law endorsed, but you need a full package of measures. And the consultation document should echo the timing of your proposal to increase the tobacco duty rate. I think TACO should do more. You can't just rely on financial tools. Otherwise, only those wealthy people who can afford it can smoke. I don't think this is right. And Deputy Secretary, I think you need to look at the question of second-hand smoking, passive smoking. What about parents smoking or elderly siblings smoking? The younger siblings, the children, will be affected. If they are wealthy enough, they don't regard $200, $300 a pack too expensive. So we should try to help the vulnerable. They don't need any legislative exercise. Well, I will stop here. I support the increase in the tobacco duty rate, but you need other measures as well. I'm sorry that I have used so much time. Next, Mr. Lee Chen-keung. Thank you, Chair. I don't think the administration can really give an answer to Ms. Chen's questions. I'm sure they are willing to work on it, but it won't be easy. It seems that they are sort of being far from the reality. Now, it seems that you are glad to see that the preference rate has come down from 9.5% to 9.1%, claiming that the survey is most scientific. I don't know whether you're going to disclose the contents of your survey and let us have a look of the questionnaire and how many people you have interviewed, what about the age profile, etc., etc. We are really interested to know more about your survey so that we will be convinced that it has been carried out in a scientific way. I saw people smoking illicit cigarettes or even e-cigarettes, and I know that some of my friends have done so. So, have you really carried out a study as to whether the ingredients of the e-cigarettes are harmful? And what about the cheap whites? Have you examined the contents of the cheap whites? Now, we are supposed to carry out the national mission of being a super connector. Now, it appears that yes, we have done this, but in another way, that is, we are getting pamphlets telling us that we can get illicit cigarettes from all sorts of places, from the mainland, from South Korea, etc., etc., from different markets of the world. It is really scary. And you get information about e-cigarettes. Other than nicotine, we don't know what else you can find in the cigarettes. Maybe they are even stronger in their carcinogenic effects, and there may even be drugs, illicit drugs. Well, analyzing the ingredients of the cheap whites. Well, for a package of tobacco product, whether it is duty paid or duty not paid, it has harmful effects on our health. For cigarettes, it has got 7,000 different chemicals, and many of them are causing cancer to our bodies. So whether they are duty paid or duty not paid cigarettes can harm our health. As to the announcement to be made mid-year in relation to the survey, there will be a lot of details. As to the one carried out last year or last time, you can get the information online, like the methodology as well as the questions asked. We are going to have another, we are going to release the latest results, and then the methodology is the same. Well, what about the preference rate? In the thematic household survey, we'll ask the following questions. We ask how many members of the household are daily smokers, did they smoke in the past, or do they only smoke intermittently? When someone smokes conventional cigarettes on a daily basis and aged 15 or above, then we regard him or her as a smoker. How do you do that via a telephone call? Please give us more information. Sorry, did you analyze the ingredients of the cigarettes, in particular the e-cigarettes? Some e-cigarettes may have additives, making it addictive, so that people can't quit smoking e-cigarettes. Can you elaborate on that? For e-cigarettes, we do have a lot of studies as to the ingredients of the e-cigarettes. We have banned e-cigarettes in Hong Kong, but all over the world, there are lots of varieties and brands of e-cigarettes. There are thousands, 10,000s of them. We know that for e-cigarettes, there are chemicals to generate the smoke. You can find nicotine, you can find flavorings. But as to the proportion of the different ingredients, we don't know. I just want to know whether there are regular analysis of the ingredients. Well, e-cigarettes have already been banned. We have done so because we know that the substances are harmful. I think if we just analyze one out of thousands of them, it won't be meaningful, because even without the examination or analysis, we know that they are harmful to our health. In our publicity leaflets, we've been advising people not to smoke e-cigarettes. Illicit cigarettes, cheap whites, e-cigarettes, etc. If the department refuses to carry out an analysis, I think they are planting a time bomb in relation to public health, because we can never tell whether additives or fake tobacco products are included. If you can examine the e-cigarettes and the illicit whites, etc., and tell people that they contain harmful substances, then citizens will be discouraged from smoking such products, because they know that they are similar to dangerous drugs and worse than the traditional cigarettes. So you have to think out of the box and try to resort to other measures. So for illicit cigarettes, would you in due course carry out an analysis? Let me answer this question. In the past, whenever we made arrests in relation to illicit cigarettes, when we had doubts, we did make arrangements for the cigarettes to be examined and analyzed by the government chemists. I think the members' idea is good. That is, we can sort of from time to time examine and analyze the tobacco products. I think we want to know about the confidence level, the randomization, the sampling size, and if you try to compare the previous figures, we want to know about the statistical methods that you have been adopting. Next, Mr. Peter Shiu. Thank you, Chair. If I may pick up the first point, it is said that the smoking preference rate, it was 9.5% in the past, and the latest figure is 9.1%. 9.5% was generated or arrived at by the Census and Statistics Department. I want to know if you have asked the question, that is, whether they are smoking illicit cigarettes or not.
Deputy Secretary, illicit cigarettes, whether you are buying it or selling it, is an illegal act. So we do not ask people if they are smoking illicit cigarettes under the thematic household survey. I'm not asking you to ask them if they smoke illicit cigarettes. I'm asking if you have asked them in the consultation paper that they smoke illicit cigarettes or not. In our survey, we ask people if they have a habit of smoking. So when regarding the figures of 7.1%, we did not ask them if they smoke duty paid or duty not paid cigarettes. In 2023, we raised the tobacco duty by 31.4%. Every month, the CNED publish figures on the revenue from tobacco duty that they receive. I looked at the figures since April 2022. I compared that with the figures 11 months later in 2023, and I compared the revenue before and after the raise of tobacco duty last year. Before the duty hike, the government received $7.86 billion of tobacco duty before the duty hike, and after the duty hike by 31.4%, if the number of smokers remain constant, then all we have to do is to multiply the figure just now by 31.4%, because if we have the same number of smokers and if we increase the tobacco hike, then we should be able to receive $13 billion. That's assuming the number of smokers remain unchanged. But in the 11 months in 2023, the revenue actually dropped to 7.2% instead of going up to $10.3 billion. So how come after raising the tobacco duty, the revenue received has gone down? It could be because we have fewer smokers. Before the duty hike, the revenue generated was $7.86 billion. After raising the tobacco duty by 31.4%, and if the revenue generated became $7.2 billion after the rate hike, then it means that the smoking prevalence has gone down to 9.5%. The reason why you receive less revenue should be because we have fewer smokers. If we have 31.4% fewer of smokers, then we should only have 6.5% of the population that are smokers. And if that's the case, then we should have achieved our goal of having a smoking prevalence at 7.8%. But what was mentioned by the Deputy Secretary is that the smoking prevalence of 2023 was 9.1% instead of 6.5%. So if the smoking prevalence has not gone down to 6.5% and the revenue generated for the CNED has not gone up, so it means that people are actually resorting to illicit cigarettes. The Deputy Secretary, when we calculate the smoking prevalence and revenue generated from tobacco duty, there are a number of factors to be considered, including the rate of duty hike and the economic outlook. There are also some special factors to be considered. In 2023, after resumption of normal travel, the demand for duty-paid cigarettes has dropped. In 2019, before the pandemic, the duty-paid cigarettes amount to 3 billion. During the pandemic, the demand for duty-paid cigarettes went up to $4 billion. After resumption of normal travel, despite the duty hike for tobacco, we saw a significant drop in the demand for duty-paid cigarettes, and that's because of the resumption of normal travel. The demand for duty-paid cigarettes went down to $3 billion, which is the level before the pandemic. Currently, well, we have a moderate drop of 9% in terms of sale of duty-paid cigarettes. So we should not just say that smokers actually resort to illicit cigarettes just because of the tobacco duty hike. Chairman, there could be people crossing the border to purchase cigarettes or purchasing illicit cigarettes. For the smoking prevalence of 9.5% and 9.1%, did you ask them if they are purchasing real and legal cigarettes? Now, the smoking prevalence has dropped from 9.5% to 9.1%, but you raised the duty by 30-odd percentage. If you add such a percentage of duty, then the smoking prevalence should have dropped to 6.5%. If the people are not resorting to illicit cigarettes, then where are they buying their cigarettes? I hope that people will be smoking less. That's our common goal and wish. The problem that we have is that you are raising tobacco duty persistently, and as a result, members of the public are buying unsafe cigarette products. CNED is working very hard to combat the problem. With so many illicit cigarettes on the market, how are you going to deal with that? I know that in the future, you may be implementing a marking system to distinguish between duty-paid and duty-not-paid cigarettes, but the marking system has not been in place. If you are just raising the tobacco duty, you are driving people to the illicit cigarette market. After raising the tobacco duty again, sellers of illicit cigarettes would benefit even further, and some people may not know that it's illegal to purchase illicit cigarettes. If you want to solve if you cannot solve the problems with cheap whites and illicit cigarettes, I would not support the bill. Mr. Xiu was comparing between the tax revenue or tobacco duty revenue generated before and after the duty hike. Because after the raising the duty, you should be receiving more revenue. But the base, well, the comparison was made between the time before and after the pandemic. It may not be as scientific. Who are you asking? I can perhaps supplement with some figures. Our most recent smoking prevalence is 9.1%. That's the figure derived by the CNSD in the middle last year after conducting survey. We actually raised the tobacco duty in February 2023. So when we collected the data in the middle last year, the duty hike was only in place for a few months. Mr. Xiu's calculation is not completely accurate because there is a time factor at play there, and we did not conduct the thematic household survey at the end of last year, but the middle of the year. Is there a single reason for the drop of revenue? That's not the case. We have stepped up publicity and promotion on healthy living and smoking cessation services, and that could contribute to the drop of revenue as well. Ms. Doreen Kong, Thank you, Chairman. I agree with what Mr. Xu said, and I was inspired. I actually support the bill because I think that raising tobacco duty is the best way to control tobacco. But I understand what Mr. Xu was saying. While we are raising tobacco duty, we have to work on other areas as well. Online selling of cigarettes is very prevalent. A lot of countries and cities in the world are trying to combat online selling illicit cigarettes, and the Singapore government is working on that as well, because the illicit cigarette market has gone online. So I hope that the CNED will step up online patrol. Regarding penalty, well, we cannot raise tobacco duty indefinitely, and I think that we have to adopt a multi-pronged approach. For possession, selling, and buying of illicit cigarettes, the penalty is not that significant. We only penalize offenders for a fine of $1 million and imprisonment of 2 years. In other countries, their imprisonment term is actually 6 years, max. So I hope that the government will consider it. I remember Ms. Chen Hao-yan said this. We have to work on the packaging of the cigarettes. People cannot tell the difference between illicit cigarettes and traditional cigarettes just by looking at the appearance. For Japan and Canada, they put labels or identifications on the sticks of cigarettes or packs of cigarettes so that people can identify or distinguish between duty-paid and duty-not paid cigarettes. There are two types of cigarettes. First, fixed cigarettes and contraband. We should adopt different ways to combat different kinds of illicit cigarettes. For fake cigarettes, like what Mr. Lee said, it's harmful to people. When other countries examined these cigarettes, they found a pesticide in those cigarettes. For illicit cigarettes, that has to do with duty, whether it's paid or not. I hope that the government will adjust the publicity strategy. We're not just dealing with illicit cigarettes, but some illicit cigarettes are fake cigarettes that could harm people's health. People may think that they are buying a pack of cigarettes at low price, but that's not the full picture. I hope that you can adjust your way of marketing because some illicit cigarettes are fake cigarettes. Other countries of the world have adjusted their strategy. I hope that you can work towards that direction. Deputy Secretary, thank you. What you said is what we're planning to work on as well. We don't just rely on duty hike. We also step up enforcement action against illicit cigarette transaction, and we will announce further details in due course. We plan to work on the penalty, the packaging of cigarettes, and as mentioned by CNED, they conduct decoy operation. We will give you more details about our plan later. Next, Mr. Edward Leung for the second round. After Mr. Leung has spoken, I will draw the line. If you would like to put questions for the second round, please press the button. Thank you, Chairman. Just now, the administration said that if someone smokes daily and he or she is aged 15 or above, then that person would be considered smoker. But then people smoking e-cigarettes would not be considered smokers. So I think the figure does not reflect the full picture because a lot of people are smoking e-cigarettes. And some people are resorting to illicit cigarettes or cheap whites. Young people don't really smoke traditional cigarettes anymore. So I think that the figure on smoking prevalence is not true. There could be billions of dollars that have gone to the hands of criminals selling illicit cigarettes or e-cigarettes. What is the government's take on the figure? Thank you.
呢度
Let me point out that I can't accept your statement that the figures are fake. Well, in fact, we have been most scientific. The Census and Statistics Department, which is responsible for the census, helped us to carry out the survey. Every person interviewed would be asked to tell us about the history of smoking and the number of times that they smoke. We mainly focus on conventional cigarettes, but there's an option available that is e-cigarettes or other tobacco products. So I won't accept your assertion that our data is fake. And in fact, the mainstream smokers do smoke conventional cigarettes. And therefore, when we carry out our monitoring, we'll be focusing on the conventional products. As to the heated tobacco products or as well as the e-cigarettes, among other alternative smoking products, they have been banned totally. So anybody smoking e-cigarettes or heated tobacco products, I hope they were using products obtained before the ban. Otherwise, it is an offense. Well, in fact, you can see it easily on the street. So the revenue has been lost. And this is all because they are taking up illicit cigarettes or the cheap whites. Mr. Tony Chair. Of course, everybody is talking about the illicit cigarettes. I'm sure and I hope that the government will work harder in this area, think of more measures. Otherwise, despite the increase of the tobacco duty rate, we are not sure that it is going to be effective. If I may ask a question for the sake of clarification, in paragraph 10 of the paper, it is said that we have been regarded as at the forefront of tobacco control in China by the National Health Commission as well as the WHO. But then for the proportion of tobacco duty to retail price, the WHO says that it should be a minimum of 75%. Despite the proposed increase, it will only be around about 70%. This is because the retail price will go up and has gone up as well. Now, you have mentioned that we need to discharge our obligation, and we have been, and we have the framework convention extended to us since 2006. Now, the proportion will be around about 70%. It seems that there will be another round of increase next year. I want to know whether you can sort it out in the legislation. What prevents you from doing it? Do you have other factors to consider so that you are prevented from doing so? That is, why don't you impose a deadline for us to reach the target? Another issue is about passive smoking. The victims are really innocent victims. Now, in your public consultation document, in fact, I have given my views, and this has been shared by others. That is, we non-smokers don't want to suffer from second-hand or passive smoking. When you come from the MTR station while you walk on the footbridge, I'm sure you will be affected by the second-hand smoking. For us, we have been victimized. How are we going to get more safeguards? So, expanding the NSAs and etc. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for your comments. For the 75%, it is a matter of whether we have a mechanism to achieve the target. And you wondered whether this is a drafting difficulty. No, it isn't a matter of drafting difficulty. The last time we increased the rate, it was 2023, and then prior to that, it was more than 10 years ago. Every time after increasing the tobacco duty rate, we want to evaluate whether it works. Now, on this occasion, it is good because the 2023 increase was proved to be effective. And in our consultation document, we did ask this question. That is, by increasing the rate, by increasing the retail price, our tobacco duty rate will have its effect diluted. We want to know whether more measures should be introduced. And then for the expansion of the NSAs, again, this will be covered by our report on the consultation document. Here in this Bills Committee, the main focus is on the proposed increase of the tobacco duty rate. At the same time, we are making preparations for a multi-pronged approach. We'll make an announcement later on. You'll come back to the panel, right? Yes. Next, Mr. Peter Hsu. Please switch on the microphone for me. Chair, please switch on the mic for me. The preference rate is 9.1%. Yes, please switch on the mic for Mr. Hsu. Can you hear me? Yes, I can. The light is on. Can you hear me? Is my mic on? Please reset the timer. Reset it to 0, please. In the year 2023, the preference rate was 9.1%. It was found out in the middle of 2023. How long did it last, and when did you receive the information? Is the mic on? Can you hear me? DS, you said 9.1% was the rate for 2023. It was a survey carried out by the Census and Statistics Department. For how many months was the survey carried out, and when did you get the information? For the Census and Statistics work, well, they do have a timetable to release the statistical outcome. So please wait for the mid-year announcement to be made by the CNS. They will give you more information about the collection of the data. I can only tell you that in the middle of 2023, I think between May and August, they carried out a survey. But when did you get that figure? Internally, we received the information only recently. If you have received it earlier on, I would challenge you as to why you didn't tell us earlier at a panel meeting. Well, for the preference rate of 9.1%, it was only good up to the middle of last year. So it seems that you implied that the preference rate might have already fallen further. In my first round of questions, I made this point. For the 11 months since April 2023, and for the 11 months correspondingly in the previous year, well, the figure should have become $10.3 billion because the rate has been increased by 30%. Now, if you're still getting $7.86 billion, then the number of smokers should have come down by 31.4%. And so the preference rate on such a basis should have been 6.5% only. Now, the DS has is saying that it is 9.1%. It might be lower because the survey covered the months May to August only. Now, if the figure comes down to 6.5% and it has got nothing to do with illicit cigarettes, then you have reached the target, because by 2026 you should reach the rate of 7.8%. Now, if the figure is not actually 6.5% and it is still around 9 and not yet 7.8%, in other words, then all the revenue that you have lost has implies that all the smokers have gone to the illicit market. In other words, the illicit trade is very, very serious. Now, all the figures come from you. I just carried out the analysis. I'm not criticizing you for pulling your punches. It is that the profit is too attractive, and it will be difficult to outwit the illicit traders. Of course, it will work if you put a label on the duty-paid cigarettes, but it will be costly. So for the illicit traders, they will put up advertisements tomorrow, because you knew that the WhatsApp messages were flying around as soon as the news broke. So I think, objectively speaking, it seems that they're making more profits, and then we have more health risk because there are more fake cigarettes. Chair, I don't think I'm going to ask questions in the third round. I just want to say that I don't agree with the proposal. But then this is a Bills Committee. It isn't a panel meeting for us to make our comments known. For a Bills Committee, you better let us have a free go in expressing our views. I think there should be more meetings. We should allow more people to ask more questions. You shouldn't have drawn the line so early, because we need to scrutinize the bill. Well, I can see that there is a consensus. I think you're very concerned as to how we can work harder to crack down on illicit cigarettes so that it won't be that extensive, so that people won't switch over to the illicit market. So we are on the same side. We share the same position. For law enforcement, publicity, public education, undercover operations, etc., we will double our efforts so that the perception as well as the reality will be such that the duty increase won't be equivalent to more illicit cigarettes. Well, in fact, increasing the duty rate and combating illicit cigarettes would go hand in hand. Well, in fact, we are also concerned about the prevalence of illicit cigarettes. We'll join hands to think of more measures, like having a marking system to attach a label to the duty-paid cigarettes. Thank you. Next, Ms. Chen Hoi-yen. If I may ask the same question again. For illicit cigarettes, yes, I can appreciate that the administration is trying to lower the preference rate by increasing the tobacco duty rate. But I'm afraid the two aren't exclusive of each other. It is a fact that illicit cigarettes are prevalent. You see the messages on the internet, you get the pamphlets being handed out in the housing estates. So increasing the tobacco duty rate would certainly give rise to a stronger demand for illicit cigarettes. I think it's better for you, and all you have to do is to promise that you will work harder to eliminate the illicit cigarettes. So we need to be pragmatic. the duty rate is going to be increased and there will be more illicit cigarettes, we should think of ways to deal with that. We should report more on that, make more arrests, and have more sort of inspection and visits around the housing estates. Well, on another occasion, we had the information about the health survey. I think the secondary school students have annual healthy checks. How vulnerable are they? Are their parents smokers? Are their elderly sisters, brothers smokers? I don't think we need legislation, and we don't need to spend a lot of public money. It can be done easily. Annually, secondary school students have a health check by the Department of Health. You can include this question in their questionnaire. So we should also make reference to the practices of other cities, like in the case of Shenzhen. Lately, they have introduced a new label. There is a complaint hotline. They have a complaint hotline in relation to stop smoking. So this is a brand new sign, a brand new label. Moreover, if you sell cigarettes to underage smokers, the offense will attract a fine of $30,000. And passive smoking would affect us. You still have lots of smoking in the rear staircase. I think TACO should do more. Like in the case of Shenzhen, they have got this brand new notice. When you see such happening, you're supposed to report on it. So you don't have to wait for the consultation exercise to finish. You can take this step now.
我哋都會
Deputy Secretary, thank you, Ms. Chan, for your suggestion. We will consider it. As for the annual physical physical examination of students, that's a good idea. We target also to find out high-risk groups with the annual physical examination. But we are only identifying students who need care from the social welfare department. But the proposal mentioned by Ms. Chan is a great one, and we will consider it. Next, Mr. Lee Chan-kang. I would like to thank the administration for understanding my point. We hope that the government can step up tobacco control effort. We have to face up to the prevalence of or prevalence of illicit cigarettes and cheap whites on the market after the duty hike. Mr. Xiu talked about profits from selling illicit cigarettes. As mentioned in paragraph 14 of the paper, the average retail price of the cigarettes pack is $93.68. And prior to the duty hike, it was $77.68. Now, if you purchase cigarettes online, it costs only some $30 per pack. And that's cheaper than duty-paid cigarettes because illicit cigarettes traders don't have to pay duty. And I think that we have to really tackle the problem. I have two questions. First, will you consider amending legislation to increase the penalty for illicit cigarette traders? And will you come up with other ways to prohibit members of the public from smoking cheap whites or illicit cigarettes. Deputy Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Lee, for your comment. Our stance is very clear. We attach importance to combating illicit cigarettes on the market, and we will consider stepping up or increasing the penalty against illicit cigarettes. And that I know that there's room for improvement. As for whether we have other ways to cope with the problem, as mentioned, we will implement a marking system. And there are other measures that will be rolled out, and we will announce them in due course. For combating PRH abuse, we have an award system for that. If people see others distributing smoking product leaflets, can they call the complaint hotline? And if eventually the distributor is prosecuted, they can be rewarded so that we can combat the illicit cigarette situation or problems. Deputy Secretary, any reply? We note Mr. Lee's view. Now we come to the clause-by-clause scrutiny. Would the administration please walk us through the clauses? Members can refer to the marked up copy, that is CV bracket 395/2024 bracket 01 and the blue bill. Would the legal advisor also remind members of the points to note during the scrutiny? Thank you. Chairman. Raising tobacco duty is a very important thing, but the clauses are quite simple. I will talk about the principles of each of the provision. To start off, we have an effective date and its short title. And it says here that this ordinance is deemed to have come into operation at 11 a.m. on 28th of February 2024. As mentioned, we make use of the Public Revenue Protection Duty on Tobacco Order to bring the tobacco duty hike into force. We have changed the price of the products, including the price of the cigarettes or the duty of the cigarettes, cigars, and Chinese prepared tobacco. For cigarettes, we will raise the duty by 80 cents. So the duty for each stick of cigarettes will be raised by 31.92%, and we will also raise the duty for other tobacco products, including cigars and Chinese prepared tobacco. So we're changing the price in the bill. And this is pretty much all the technical amendments in the bill. Any questions or comments? If not, we have finished with the scrutiny of the Chinese version of the bill. Legal advisor, any questions or problems relating to the English rendition of the bill? Thank you, Chairman. The Legal Services Division have read the Chinese and English versions of the bill, and we don't see any problems with the law drafting or drafting of the bill. Do all members support the bill? Thank you. Any other business? There's no other business. Legislative timetable. When would the government like to resume second reading debate? I think that Chairman have to make a report to the House Committee regarding this bill, and then we will proceed to third reading. Yes? Chairman, At the start of this meeting, you ask the members of the public to submit written submissions. I think that we have to wait until the receipt of all the submissions before we decide whether we should have another meeting. Okay. Perhaps we should wait until we've received all the submissions. Let's decide after reading all the submissions. Thank you. Thank you.